Welcome and good evening, and welcome to the 94th edition of Burlington and Beyond. Once again, we have a very special guest for you tonight, someone who is going to give us a lot of good information with regard to what happens in probably one of the most important departments in Burlington. Joan is my co-host, and between Joan and myself, we are going to ask the chief. This is Chief Steve Yetman. He is the chief of the fire department here in Burlington, has been for
9 years.
Has been with the Burlington Fire Department for a very long time. And unfortunately, we are going to be losing him in, I guess, in a few months.
July of next summer.
July, okay, we still have him for a few months, but at least we have him for tonight so we can ask him a lot of questions. A lot of inside questions. We want to know a lot of good stuff about what happens to an eminently qualified fire chief. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad that you could come. And the first thing I want to know is, even after you retire, will you come back?
Sure.
To tell us about what you're doing in retirement?
Won't be that far away for now.
Okay. Why don't we begin by you talking a little bit about yourself, how long you've been the chief, if you're enjoying it, a little bit about your family maybe, if you like, a little bit of that inside stuff to tell us about Steve.
Okay, my background. I was born in Chelsea. I was born in 1955. We moved out to Burlington in 1956. So I've been basically a lifelong resident. I grew up in Burlington. I went to Memorial School as my elementary school. I went to the Francis Wyman Junior High School, and I went to the Burlington High School kind of when it was Marshall Simons, but I was actually the first graduating class out of this building.
Oh, okay.
1973. And I got on the fire department in 1978.
What was it like then, the fire department? How many people, and do you recall the engines and the pieces of equipment that you had? Just thinking in terms of what you have today.
Yeah, well, back then, I mean, the original fire station was built in 1956 or 57. So, and it didn't have that big addition on the side. So it was a pretty simple building. It was very small. And I remember walking in the door, and the two front line pieces of apparatus were a 1959 and 1961 B model Mac. And I'm thinking, boy, this stuff is old.
Did it run?
It did run.
Okay.
Yeah, it ran great.
Okay. As opposed to, for example, and I guess maybe a little early to bring this up, but compared to what we have on order now for our fire department, which will not be ready, I think you mentioned, for a while yet, but we have, what is it that we bought?
We are going to purchase a 2019 Pierce Quantum pumper is what we're purchasing. We're replacing we have a 1998 Pierce Quantum that typically fire trucks, depending upon where you are, we try and get, out in this area, try to get probably 15 to 20 years out of a fire truck. You don't get that in like a Revere or an Everett, something like that. They're usually 7 to 10 years. They just get beat up a lot more.
Heavy because of usage?
Yeah.
Heavy use. Yeah.
So out here, I mean, we are busy, but we don't have the narrow streets and that type of stuff. And they can't support the bigger apparatus. They have to buy the smaller apparatus. Here, and it's kind of a different mindset. You get into a Cambridge or Somerville or an Everett, and they have dedicated rescue companies, and that's just all tools. And those are the guys who go in and do search and rescue. You don't have the manpower to do that out here. So we typically, in this area, we're designed as rescue pumpers. We take our tools with us on fire apparatus, so it's a bigger truck.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
I often wondered why they seem so bigger. They are bigger.
Right. They're huge.
Okay.
They're
more
huge.
You're carrying more.
We're carrying more. Yes.
Yeah.
And now, typically, we will go out. We'll spec out a truck, and the specification sheet will be 120 to 150 pages.
Oh my God.
Well, they're custom made.
That's like a
So
course.
you customize it for your town and your needs. Okay.
Yeah, you actually customize it for your town. So Pierce will get, again, any fire apparatus manufacturer will get your spec. And you go out and you do pre-construction meetings, and you might go out and do a mid-construction meeting, and you definitely go out for the final inspection.
yeah.
Because you want to make sure they did it
You're
right.
getting what you bought, which was
Exactly.
maybe 120 sheets out of 150, yeah.
So you walk in, and they're all the same. I mean, there's only two choices in pumps, so you either buy a Waterworks or a Hale. And so you specify that, and they deliver that to whatever manufacturer you've chosen. And they basically, okay, what kind of engine you want, and that gets delivered to the factory. And when you walk into the factory, it's amazing. It's literally sheet stock. It's
Really?
like going to Home Depot. It's 4x8 sheets of metal, and they actually fabricate. They start with two 13-inch frame rails, and then they build a framework that the cabinets hang off of that.
What goes first on a truck? I mean, the ones that we have, how old are the pieces that we have now?
Well, we typically replace an engine every 5 years. So we have a 5, a 10, a 15, and a 20-year-old
Okay.
engine. So we try and do that.
What is the greatest problem that they have with it? Is it the weather,
It's the weather. It's in the Northeast specifically. I mean, it's the
so
corrosion.
the
It's
body
corrosion.
gets eaten?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's something we try and stay on top of,
Yeah.
but it's inevitable. You can slow it down. You're not going to stop it.
Right.
Yeah. I can't imagine what you
But
can do.
when you specify a truck, now it takes anywhere from 160 to 180 days to manufacture a truck. So,
That's
6 months,
understandable.
up to 6
yeah.
months.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are so involved, I can
They are.
imagine. I
Right.
think that's pretty
There's
good.
miles of wiring. Miles.
Yeah, yeah. How many pieces do we have right now? Major pieces,
Front?
not
What we
the-
consider front line, things that go out the door on a regular basis.
Right.
On wheels?
Yeah, on wheels. We have, I have 19 pieces of rolling stock.
Okay.
That's what you own.
Okay.
But typically we have, in service, we have 3 engines, a tower, a shift commander's car, and 2 ambulances. That's typically what rolls out the door on a regular basis.
Okay.
But we have 3 ambulances, we have a spare. We have 4 engines, we have a spare engine. So if something's out of service, something breaks down, we can just pop the spare in and keep running.
Wait a minute. You're talking about the engine itself?
No. No, if a
A
fire
unit,
engine,
a
if a fire
piece,
engine goes
okay,
out of service
yeah.
for whatever
I was
reason.
going to say, geez, you can pop the engine on it.
No. We're
Like
good.
Legos.
I know you guys are good, but I didn't think
Maybe
it was that
expensive
good.
Legos.
Yeah.
Especially-
How does this compare with what's coming down the line,
As far as,
the end of Terrace Hall?
oh, the new fire station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a work in progress. It's something we've been pursuing for a couple of decades, actually. So we're well into the process. We have a target finish date of next April 2019.
That's for occupancy
your
in the.
retirement.
Okay.
Just before my retirement, yes. So, I mean, and things are on schedule. Typically Wednesdays, we still have a building committee together. And we typically meet at least 2 meetings, sometimes 3 or 4 meetings on a Wednesday, every Wednesday.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, one of the
Adam.
Adam,
Adam,
I think
from
is
Capital
is
Budget.
on your committee.
Right.
Yeah.
CEC,
So we meet every Wednesdays. So my whole day tomorrow is booked up with Station 2, which is fine. The thought process, if you've been driven by it at all, it's really starting to move. There's a lot of trades there. There's a lot of work being done. They target to have the exterior done and weather tight by the end of November.
Wow.
And then they'll start the
Terrific.
inside work.
But how many pieces of equipment are going to be there? What
right out
the
of the-
one that's on order is going to be assigned there, or you
Yes.
don't know? It
Yeah,
will be
that's
assigned
the
there?
intent, is to put the new engine
Okay,
in the
and
fire
that'll
station.
be it for that station.
No, actually, out of the gate, our plan is to put 2 engines down there and an ambulance. This was a package. This is how we saw this. I mean, we needed to expand the department for personnel. We've done that. The town supported that, and we're in the process of still doing that.
Right.
And they supported replacing the station. And in the last town meeting, they supported replacing one of the engines. So, in theory, new fire station, new engine down there, and then with the expansion of the department, I need to get an ambulance assigned to that building to cover that side of town.
Do you feel comfortable? I'm sure you do, with regard to that station being totally occupied, preoccupied with that part of the town, the turnpike, et cetera, all of the, especially given, for example, they just approved that Sears is going to put in
Yeah, there's going to be
20 units, 20 more stores.
There's-
You
yeah,
got this
you've
one
got-
over here,
you've got an
19 and
expansion.
a half, that's going to be open pretty soon.
Am I satisfied? I don't think any fire chief is really ever satisfied. I mean, you can
No,
always
I don't
use,
think
you can
you-
always use more men.
You probably don't even have the right to be satisfied because, I say that meaning that you're always looking for extra help. You need
Sure,
extra,
sure,
there's never
absolutely.
enough. When disaster strikes, that's when everyone realizes that you're a little bit short-handed, or you could use something else. But you have to wait for the disaster. But do you feel relatively comfortable with regard to that station taking care of that part of
Well,
town?
when you build a fire station, you're building it for 40 or 50 years. And that was the vision of this. This is being built to house 8 firefighters at some point. Is it going to do that day one? No, it's not. I mean, we're going to start, there's been 3 down there since 1970. In theory, we're going to 5 when it opens up. And then at some point, after I'm gone, hopefully we'll be able to fulfill that and get that up to 8. Call volume keeps increasing. I mean, when I proposed expanding the department back 3 years ago, over the last 40 years, we increased call volume by 300%
Really?
with the same amount of manpower. It's like
Wow.
you can't sustain that.
Yeah.
So as busy as we get, we have to expand, and that's going to continue to happen.
Because the town is growing.
Town is growing.
Yeah. How do you feel about these big homes in particular that are going up?
It's difficult for us. Fire
Right,
departments are designed, basically, suburban fire departments are designed for a single-family home in a typical 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
80s
Yeah.
single-family home,
Yeah.
a ranch, a cape. They're not designed for these houses that are 2 or 3
Mansions.
times. Yeah, we're not designed for that.
Yeah.
If we pull up to a ranch or cape fire, for that's a 1-room, 2-room fire. That's going to be what we consider a working fire. It may go to a second, but typically it's going to be a working fire where the on-duty shift could handle that. A house like this, it's almost an automatic second alarm.
So tell the viewers what a second alarm is. We've talked on this before.
Okay, so we get what they call an alarm of fire. Someone, a smoke detector goes off, a sprinkler head lets go, or someone calls in something, and
Right.
that's called an alarm.
Driving in
of
the neighborhood, and you're like, oh my God, my neighbor's house is on fire.
So
Okay.
what typically someone calls in, or we get the alarm. And again, in the 128 belt, that typically is 2 engines and a ladder truck and a shift commander. That's the typical response. That's called a first alarm assignment. So they get there and they have something. They have a shift commander calls a working fire, which means he thinks he can handle it with the guys he's got at the scene.
Okay.
They'll call in station coverage from other towns, so we'll have someone else to handle the next call.
Right.
If it's beyond that his big capability, he'll strike a second. And what that's going to do is get him 2 more engines and another ladder.
Where
If
did
it's
those 2 other engines and ladder come from?
It depends. It depends
Okay.
on how it's set up.
All right.
We have typically, Metro Fire is 36 cities and towns, the greater Boston area. We have a 10 alarm assignment card pre-filled out. It's been there for decades.
So is it a rotation essentially?
No, it's a set thing, and we review them every year. In fact, I just reviewed our cards, and typically there's no real major changes. But so, again, getting back to that, so if he strikes a 3rd alarm, he's going to get 2 more engines, and it just keeps going up, 4, 5, 6. Like the 7-alarm
on
fire,
need, okay,
based
yeah.
on need, like the 7-alarm church fire they had in Wakefield last week.
Explain the 7-alarm fire in Wakefield. So Wakefield gets on the scene. They realize it's much more than a working fire.
Yeah, I mean, those are, in theory, they're once-in-a-lifetime fires, but we have them a lot more frequently. So that, the story goes, and they actually have video of the lightning strike from a security camera across the street.
Wow.
Oh, is that how it started?
Yeah, it was a lightning
Oh.
strike. So it hit the steeple. By the time they got there, the steeple was fully involved.
Oh,
And it got
wow.
down to a certain point, and it was going across the ceiling of the church.
Yeah.
So typically for us, if we're going to fight a fire, we're going to go in and we're going to do an interior fire attack. We got to get to the seat of the fire. That's how you extinguish a fire. If it's beyond that point, and you have to go, so that's an offensive operation. If it's beyond that point and you can't get inside like that church, you go defensive, and you're gonna lose the structure. Now the concentration is to save the buildings around it.
That's the danger
it doesn't
point,
spread.
going in
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
finding, that's got to be terrifying. I can't imagine.
Well, it's not like Hollywood. It's not like you go in and you see things. You go to
Pitch black. It's pitch black
Close
and it's
your
full of
eyes.
smoke.
That's what we deal with.
Yeah.
You close your
Oh,
eyes.
move around and try to
Everyone has
emulate.
seen these videos and films on television in particular, and they've made some great films about.
Yeah.
And you see the.
Not realistic.
I can remember
No, not the least bit.
New York, the building. Oh God, help me!
We'll help too.
Trade Center?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two towers, and they did so many, there was so much information with regard to what happened and firefighters going in and how many were lost, and I mean, pictures of them going in the building, up the stairs, and they're caught up on the 20th floor or something, you know?
Yeah.
Bringing people down, going back in a second
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. Who determines if there's a case of arson involved? How does that come about? Is there someone that is assigned to that, or?
Our fire prevention division can do our fire investigations.
Is that automatic? Like for this one here, for example, the fire in Wakefield, do they automatically go out, or is it? You know, it was pretty obvious what happened, but
Well, the
It-
lightning
it is.
strike.
Yeah, that one's pretty obvious. It depends upon the situation. Again, when we have a fire in Burlington, typically we call out our fire prevention captain. He's trained in arson investigation, and he'll go out and determine the cause of the fire. If it's beyond his capability, we may call in assistance from the state fire marshal's office.
okay.
So that's typically how it runs.
And then, if it's determined to be arson, I imagine that's when the police are.
Yeah,
brought
right.
in.
And then
Attorney's
we
office.
also have a couple of officers too. They're also trained in arson investigation.
Oh, that work with
Burlington Fire, yeah.
if need be.
Yeah, we've had them out to a couple of calls.
So many things that I wanted to. God. Do you remember any particular? If I say, if I ask you about a fire in Burlington, does one in particular come to mind that was particularly not disturbing in terms of arson, but disturbing in the way it happened, and perhaps I don't know if life was involved or anything like that, but
Well, there's, again, over a 30-year career or a
Right.
40-year career, I mean, we go, I was telling you before, I mean, Burlington Fire Department averages almost 20 calls a day. I mean, and they kind of all kind of blend together, but there are ones that stick out, the big ones. Like I went to the Center School fire. You know, I went to 128 Rentoul
I
fire.
forgot all about that.
Yeah, so that was a 4-alarm fire. 128 Rentoul years ago, 1982, was 4-alarm fires and stuff like that. But you do remember, even the small ones can be a problem. I mean, the worst fire I ever went to was a fatal fire, and it was Christmas morning in 1982.
Oh wow!
So
Wow!
that was
That
tough.
was here in town.
That was here. It was
Yeah.
2:00 in the morning,
Yeah.
Christmas morning.
Was it a Christmas tree?
It was a Christmas tree.
Okay.
It was a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Well, see, it's if you talk to firefighters, no firefighter typically will have a real will have a real Christmas tree. Yes.
Or at least unplug it before you go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the
It's hard to
Coconut
keep
Grove
them watered.
fire? Do you remember
Not
having
personally,
heard
no.
about it?
Yeah, I've read books about it and stuff like that. Yeah.
This is why
400
fire exits. You push the door open. You can't have it blocked.
That's where a lot
and
of
that's egress.
That's where a lot of your fire codes came from.
came
Right.
from there.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
I had
Capacities
I have
and
to tell you
halls,
that
dance halls.
my mother had recently come from Italy, and she was living with her aunt in Wakefield. And there was a cousin, her name was Mary Roberto, and she was about 20, I think, 21. And on this Saturday night, she wanted to go to the Coconut Grove to dance. And so she prevailed upon my mother because her mother was out away somewhere, so my mother was supposed to be in charge. She was only a few years older than her. And my mother just tried to keep her from going. She didn't want her to go because she felt responsible. She didn't know where we're going. We're going into Boston. That was enough to right there.
A big to do
Yeah.
back in the day.
She was one of the 462 people who died in
Perished,
that Coconut Grove fire. Yeah, my mother was devastated after that. She felt like she was responsible
Of
for it.
course, yeah.
That was really horrible. Fire can be bad. Why did you choose fire? How did you choose, and when did you choose?
I really, I wasn't the type of young kid that grew up and saying I want to be a firefighter.
So you weren't 8 years old and like, I
No.
can't wait to be a firefighter.
No, I had an
can't wait
interest.
to be
I
a
was in
firefighter.
Boy Scouts, and I had an interest that, when I was in Boy Scouts in Burlington, Troop 511, we were heavily associated with the Burlington Fire Department.
Okay.
So there was a connection there.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't graduate high school and think this is what I want to do, but I wanted to do something. I didn't want to sit behind a desk.
Okay.
So what do?
Okay.
I sit behind a desk now.
But as chief.
But
But you've got
And you sought this
decisions to
position
make.
ultimately. So,
I didn't want to do that out of high school. So I actually took multiple tests. I kept taking the firefighter's exam. I kept taking the police exam, and I took the state police test.
Okay.
And this happened to be the first one that popped. I wanted to do something to help others,
Okay. All right.
and I didn't want to sit behind a desk, which is what I've been doing for 9 years.
But
How do we stand with regard to the EMTs? So you talked a little bit about it before. We're in the process of having our own here in Burlington, if I understand
Well,
correctly.
we have EMTs. We've had EMTs since the 70s.
Yeah, but there are ones that we,
EMT, emergency medical technician,
Right.
basic is different than what we're moving to. We're moving to an ALS service. We're basic life support or BLS now. We're moving to advanced life support or paramedic.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
so EMTs and paramedics, separate categories. Paramedic is much more
Much more advanced.
advanced.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so tell us about an EMT's training.
An EMT's training is basically 1 semester.
Okay.
Or, again, depending on if you took it through a college.
Okay.
But there are private ambulance companies that give it. There's private businesses that teach it too. So you can actually do it quicker, but you have to be an EMT first before you can be a paramedic. When you go to paramedic school, that's a year.
That's a full year.
Yeah, that's
It's much more
26 weeks of
comprehensive.
classroom, and then it's clinical, doing hospital time, and then you do ride-along time.
For a long time to make sure you're ready. You're
Right, and both
on the
have
ground and ready to
certification.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both have
absolutely.
certification exams to them.
okay.
But yeah,
absolutely.
one's can be as quick as 6 weeks for EMT, and paramedics a year.
I remember seeing a sheet with the amount or the kinds of medication
Yeah.
that they're required
Right.
to know a little bit about or something about
Or
or to
administer
know
them,
about. And then
potentially,
it was like this.
It was multiple pages, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're,
I mean,
and again, we're moving in
are
that
they
direction.
actually held to that
Sure.
standard?
Absolutely.
They have to know.
We operate again. It's a typically we run under the medical direction of a doctor, even as EMTs. Our medical director is out of Leahy Clinic, Dr. Wang.
Okay.
So he
know that.
oversees our program as EMTs, but he will also oversee our program as paramedics.
For the paramedics.
Yeah,
okay.
and we're almost there. I've got 11 or 12 on the force. I think my 11th or 12th guy is in the academy right now. So that'll give me almost a dozen paramedics. I'll be hiring or trying to hire 2 more in December as soon as the new civil service list comes out.
Okay.
And so we'll have the numbers.
So eventually Burlington will be, for
ALS.
want of a better word, self-sufficient in terms of
Yeah.
EMTs and.
Yeah,
and-
and most, again, over time, most have transitioned that way. Bedford's already ALS, Lexington, Winchester. Woburn's looking at it. We're in the process of doing there. We have a target date of maybe next summer to go flip the switch and go ALS.
Do you feel a bit more comfortable with that?
Yes, much more. We
Why?
should've-
Because you have to depend on outside, or is it the money, or?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, money is kind of how you offset your costs, but it's better patient care. You have to do it anyway. It's how you do it.
Okay,
It's how you do it. Do you contract with a private provider?
right.
You know, we do it, we provide the BLS, and ALS is provided by a private ambulance company.
So if someone calls because their family member is in distress, there's I have an older son with a nut and a peanut allergy. You know, he can asphyxiate in the space of 3 minutes.
Sure.
You know, obviously we have EpiPens and all that sort of stuff. But you know, you call. You know, as you see your family member swelling up and their inability to breathe, and you're reaching for the EpiPen, someone is dialing 911. Normally now EMTs would arrive first, perhaps.
Right.
That's basic life
We-
support.
yeah.
6 months to a year from now, ideally, paramedics would arrive, much more comprehensive.
Yes, when
And-
we show up with the ambulance right now, we're EMTs, and hopefully, you know, next summer, When we show up with our ambulance, it'll be paramedics. They're coming anyway.
Right.
But it may be,
quickly,
they may
yes.
be coming from Woburn or Winchester or Arlington, and that's the problem. Years ago, when no one was paramedics, and
Right.
it was provided, actually, when Leahy first opened up, Leahy provided the service.
Oh, okay.
It was North Suburban Emergency Medical Consortium.
Okay.
It was Leahy paramedics. But
Okay.
they gave that
I
up.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they gave that up pretty quick. And so a private, there's no money in it. So,
Okay.
so they,
He burped for those out there.
so they contracted with a private ambulance provider who supplied ALS service for 10 towns.
Would that be Armstrong?
But yes.
Inquiring minds
But
wanna
now-
know.
But now they're only providing for Burlington,
Okay.
and they're backup for a lot of towns. So,
Okay.
and business-wise says, that's not a good idea. So,
Right.
they're not going to dedicate resources to 1 or 2 towns when they used to provide 10.
Right.
So the resources aren't there anymore.
Okay.
So are we not providing ALS service? No, we are. But, for us, we have Leahy Clinic right in town. I'm not waiting 8 minutes for a paramedic service when I can be in Leahy in 4.
Right.
Right.
Get the patient to the hospital. That's the ultimate
in the
goal.
most rapid manner,
Absolutely.
possible. Right.
When we're paramedic, that's not a problem anymore.
I unfortunately have had occasion to call for assistance from the dispatcher. Very important person.
Yes.
How are they chosen? How are they found? How you can't get
How are
into
they trained?
personalities.
Yeah.
They what?
How are they trained? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. Are they on the job or
There's civilians. There's civilians, and they have to be EMTs.
Oh, okay. So the
That's
dispatcher
key.
that you're speaking to on the phone
Is an
when you
EMT.
call is an EMT,
Yes.
right? And hey, I don't know. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to go there. Most of us, we all live on our cell phone,
Yes.
and then some of us still have a landline or not. Now, my understanding is when you call, I know actually from experience, when you call from your cell phone in your home, it's patched first to the state police,
It could
and
be.
then it's rerouted.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah. So
The
is
way-
it good? Is it wise for the general viewer out there who's maybe thinking of getting rid of their landline to perhaps consider keeping it?
It's not a bad idea because
It's a backup. It's
in
a good
the
backup.
businmost that we're in, it's time.
Right.
It's
Everything's
all
time is of the essence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the way it's set up here, and most primary 911 primary what they call PSAPs are police departments. Most of them are.
Right. Right.
So you call 911 in Burlington, you're going to the police department. You mention anything about fire or EMS, you need an
Medical,
ambulance.
yeah, some kind of
that gets transferred over to us.
Okay.
That's how that works. All of we have 4 civilian dispatchers. They're all EMTs. Everybody in my department is what they call emergency medical dispatch certified. So anybody can sit. You can't sit at the desk without having that certification.
Okay. All right.
So everybody, I got 70 some employees, and they're all EMD
Right.
certified.
All right.
You appear to be a very satisfied young man.
Oh, thank you.
What I mean by that is that your character is such that you seem to show, or you seem to almost glow with there's a little bit of pride in what you're doing. Are you
Best job in the
happy
world.
with the fact that you've chosen this career? Because you can help people, because of the excitement, because of the responsibility, everything,
Yes, yes, and yes.
all
All
of
the
the
above.
above.
All of the above.
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the guys in public safety, police and fire, we're there. We want to help people. That's what we do.
When you hire someone, is that one of the questions?
Our typical hiring process is the Burlington Fire Department is still civil service. So that is a test that's given every 2 years. They just gave one in March of this year. That list will be established and out December 1st. So we will hire off of that list. You will come in for a pre-employment interview, meet and greet. And because we're hiring paramedics lately, we'll give them a couple of ALS scenarios. Then we move into a background interview and a background investigation. That's where we know more about you than you know about you.
Well, and you need
Because,
to.
and again,
You need to.
well, we're hiring a 32-year employee.
Right,
All things being equal, that's what we're doing.
right, right.
You don't want to hire a
It's a
problem.
long, oh, no, you don't. 'Cause
You don't want to hire a problem. And we want to hire the best of the best.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, because again, anybody that's worth their salt, this is what you chose to do. I mean, you want to. I mean, what a career this has been. I mean, I couldn't have done anything better. I've had opportunities that most people don't have.
We touched on this before the camera started rolling, but tell us about your training when you initially went into the fire academy as a
Oh my God.
young man.
Yes,
A younger man, a slightly
much
younger
younger
man. Keeping with Pat's.
Yes, that was the last, before the last couple of years, that was the last expansion of the Burlington Fire Department. We hired 4 firefighters in 1978,
And you were one of them.
and I was one of them.
Okay,
And
and
we
there
all
were
went to
three
the we all went to the academy together. The other ones are all retired.
Okay.
So, yeah, we went to the academy. I think at that point it might have been 10 or 11 weeks. It has gone to 13. It's fluctuated depending upon need. Right now, there's probably a list of over 200 firefighters waiting to go to the academy statewide.
So statewide, there's 200 individuals that are waiting to go to
Waiting.
the firefighter academy.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there's 2 firefighting academies. There's one
There's
in
one in Stowe.
Stowe. Okay.
That's the main one, and there's
Okay.
one in
Apple
Springfield.
Orchards.
And then there's one in Springfield that they just
Okay.
opened up like 2 years ago, maybe.
Okay, so that's brand spanking new.
That's relatively new, yeah.
Okay, wow.
But it's still an issue. I mean, if you hire a firefighter today, he's probably not going to the fire academy until next May. That's a
So
problem.
he's ramping down his current job or whatever.
Yeah.
Or she, you know,
But
before.
you know, the need's now. That's the problem with us. The need is now.
Who teaches at the fire academy? Would you teach there? Do you teach there?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's
That was precisely one of the, that's
Oh,
good.
good,
That was one of
sorry.
the- I was going
I would say it's almost all firefighters
to teach.
that teach.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it should be, I
Well-
would
Those are the
think.
guys with the experience.
Yeah. Is that something you would consider as a part-time?
Yeah, with your retirement coming up.
I don't know. I'm
know, yeah. Steve, we're
If
gonna-
you're, if
we're gonna
you're
dance
running
for
for
you.
fires and you're working every day and you're doing,
You're gonna
you've
miss
done
this.
this
You
now
can't just
for
go
all these
stop.
years.
No, I can't stop.
What are you
You can't
going to
just
do
go.
with all your time?
I don't think so, sir.
I don't know. I'd
Respectfully.
like to take a little time off because it's
Okay.
just been
Well,
a,
yeah,
it's been a long
couple of
career.
hours a day, that's,
Yeah, but I mean, people in the fire service, fire chiefs that I know of have gone in different directions. Some people work for FEMA.
Okay.
Some people,
Federal Emergency
yeah,
Management.
Yeah, I know a few people that work for FEMA.
Federal
people
Emergency
work for
Management
agency.
Agency. I was going to say
And
association.
then some
but I
people
knew
work for
that
the
was
NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are opportunities.
Can you go into
there.
a private industry that's fire related?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I've got guys right now that are my age that are interviewing for private, colleges, universities and
Oh,
stuff
colleges
like
and universities. Oh my gosh, for the dormitories.
Right.
Remember that one at Boston University, living in the attic.
yeah, but that's
In an
like
old house.
repeating, that's like becoming a firefighter brand new
All
all
over
over again,
Well,
right? I mean, I'm sure that, they want you to be able to fight a fire.
no,
No.
dispatch them. I mean,
No,
if you're
really,
hiring a
well,
retired
it's
chief.
Well, I mean, someone like yourself, what would you do? Be directing one or two other people that?
No, they wouldn't be, no, because those aren't set up for that. If you went and worked for, say, a Tufts University or something like that, you'd be
Okay.
their fire marshal. You'd be in charge of making sure their system is up and operational, making the changes, make sure everything's up to code and stuff like
Right.
that. There's no firefighting involved in that. So, I mean, that's a...
Checking the
And then
buildings.
evacuation
Yeah,
types of
it's-
things,
yeah,
and emergency
exactly.
scenarios, maybe
Exactly.
lockdown scenarios. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Speaking
That's
of
more
checking the
police.
buildings, what happens with homes here in Burlington, especially with all these million-dollar homes that are going up? You indicated that you're not really thrilled with them because
They're-
fire department was never
It was more-
designed to
somewhat
deal
more
with these.
challenging, I think. Was
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more challenging. I mean, again, like we were saying before we
But I
started
mean,
the show.
what should we homeowner? I'm a homeowner. What should I have in my home?
Working smoke detectors, working carbon monoxide detectors. I mean,
It's October. We're all supposed to be checking
they're
them.
and basically all they are designed to do is warn you that there's a problem that you should get out of your house.
Yeah.
That's all they
ASAP.
are. Yeah.
Don't go looking for the problem. Don't go and try
No.
to put it out yourself. You'll probably asphyxiate.
Call us and we'll come and solve your
Be
problem.
harsh,
That's
yeah.
what we do. We solve problems.
Those
How
kinds
has
of problems.
Burlington changed?
Ooh, wow. Burlington has
In
changed.
terms of firefighting in terms of I'm thinking in terms of the size of the buildings and the complexity of the businesses that are up on the turnpike.
Well, for the fire service in general,
Yes.
there are less fires, but the fires we go to are more intense because of the way things are manufactured now. Fires for us are hotter; they burn quicker.
That's the materials that are
yeah.
used?
Absolutely.
How about
We
that?
because of codes and code enforcement and alarm systems and stuff, we know about them quicker, but it doesn't take the problem away. It's actually become sometimes more difficult for us. So again, for us, with the larger homes in Burlington, it gets back to the manning issue. I mean, we could easily handle a ranch or a cape or something like that, but now you have a 3,500 square foot home or 3,000 square foot home. We were talking before camera. We pull up to a house fire, and the shift commander will determine, he will call, if there's something there, he'll call a working fire. That means all hands he has on the scene are going to be able to extinguish that fire. We'll get station coverage in. Sometimes he may need more help, so he'll call a second alarm. That gets you 2 more engines and a ladder at the scene. But with these bigger homes, I mean, typically, again, the smaller homes we could probably handle at the working fire stage, maybe an occasional second alarm. Those bigger homes are probably going to be an automatic multiple alarm fire, just because of their size.
Yeah.
You know.
How about the turnpike with all of the businesses?
Well,
I mean, you know, like
That was the driving force for the new station too. I mean,
right. Is it
that-
adequate?
Yes. We're building, when you build a fire station, you build for 40 or 50 years. That's built for 8 people. Again, eventually, you know, hopefully out of the gate, 2 engines and an ambulance, and eventually, you know, get a ladder down there. You know, that won't be my fight, but that'll be someone else's fight.
The next
guy.
chief. Good luck with that at town meeting. It's a challenge.
It is.
You always have to go with your hat in your hand.
Yep. But I mean, yeah, I mean, anything's better than where we were. I mean, again, that station opened in 1970 for the single-story Burlington Mall. The Lord Byron and the Hallmark Gardens that had just opened. Northwest Park was all single-story Class 1 office space.
Right.
Now look at
what
Northwest
you've
Park
got
now.
Yeah.
Massive.
You know, it's not 8 to 4 anymore. People
Yeah.
live there.
Yeah.
You know, people
Yeah.
go there and go to restaurants and are there until 10.
Not only that, but I think of like behind Best Buy, that area there. I don't know why. I just happened to be there, and I was thinking, God, a fire engine have to go in into that. It's like that big open area that's down under there.
Yep.
You know, to get there in a hurry and to be able to respond is.
You know, again, for
You've got to have people who know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be.
That's why we train on a regular basis. But you can train all you want. Again, since 1970, we're doing basically 3 guys have been covering that side of town.
If you had some advice for the selectmen, you probably have wanted to give them some advice from time to
From time
time.
to time, yes.
In terms of the future of the town of Burlington, is there anything that you would dare to say that they should? I mean, I'm thinking of these big homes. You know, they're just. It's overwhelming. I really, I just can't. I can't imagine how anyone can even begin to handle all of them. If you have one, God forbid, you have 2 of them that on a street, you've really got a big problem. And I don't know, I don't think the other towns face quite what Burlington faces. We're a very unusual situation here and now you've got 19 and a half here. That's a big project.
Right.
That's a lot, you know, for one unit in the home, one of those affordable homes or whatever those apartments catches fire, you're looking at that whole building. You know, that's really dangerous.
Right. But that's the same, it's not,
Same concept as Lord Byron in Beacon Village.
right, it's not just a Burlington problem, though I think you see more of it here. But that problem exists in other cities and towns too.
Yeah, but they're most of like the inner city town. Well, I know they're changing, but they tend to be smaller dwellings. I'm thinking of Everett, for example. I taught school there, so I know a little bit about it.
Okay.
And now that the casino is building, all of a sudden I hear
gosh, that casino's
and
huge.
my dear friend Paul Sagarino, who is originally from Everett, I knew his mom and whatnot. But anyway, he was telling me that there's a lot of changes going on because of the money that's coming in because
Sure.
of the casino. They're building, people are tearing down little homes and they're building bigger homes. So I can imagine that that's something that they're going to be facing. We are already facing it.
And again, that was the driving force behind the new fire station, expanding the department, and all of that, because we outgrew our capability. You know, and I think that's something that all town government, be it town meeting, selectmen, or a city council and a mayor, whatever.
Right.
Listen to your department heads. If I give any advice at all, listen to your department heads. That's what you pay them for, to project the future. I'm short and long-term planning. Listen to me.
So you have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
And when you retire next July, you're going to leave those plans with your
I'll be the next
successor. In
the drawer,
they want to
top right.
line their birdcage with them. We'll
Top
probably
right
look
drawer.
at them and say, well, I like this, I don't like that, I might want to tweak it a little bit. But the idea is to leave some kind of a...
I mean, you always want to leave
Like a
the
s-
job better than you got it,
Oh, sure, right,
And not that the guys previous to you did a bad job.
No,
They brought
things were
the
evolving,
department
things were
from here to
changing.
here. You bring it from here to here, and the next guy will bring it even further.
Can you use drones for firefighting?
We did.
You did? Okay, all right.
Not Burlington specific.
all right.
It was
I
funny
was just
because we are
contemplating
also,
this.
also the emergency management director, so we belong to the Mystic Regional Emergency Planning Committee. Last Wednesday morning, we had our full membership meeting in Wakefield. Part of their presentation, one of the segments was on Department of Fire Services and their drone program and what they can do, their capabilities.
wow.
They have.
Well,
Well,
that.
it's good for doing like surveillance to figure out what's in there, before you send
they've
any
used it a
man or
lot-
woman in there to.
They've used it a
possible
lot for
peril.
missing people.
Yeah, yeah.
Missing children, missing
Oh, I hadn't
elderly and
thought
stuff
of that,
like
for
that. Well,
missing
one of
people,
the cameras they have is strictly a camera.
Okay.
The other is a camera and thermal imaging.
So that can find bodies inside the
Yeah,
building. So
absolutely.
in case little kids have a tendency to hide from flames.
So that
and
was
smoke.
well, we have that anyway. We have thermal imaging camera handheld ones.
Right.
But this is a drone program. So Wednesday morning we had a presentation on this, and Wednesday night they were using the drones at the Wakefield Church Fire.
Oh, for
Okay.
God's sakes.
And fortunately, they didn't find anything at the
They
Wakefield.
didn't know,
Church.
but it gives a shift commander or an incident commander,
Wonderful information. Immediate
because we had a
information.
monitor set up on a table.
Right.
And you could see it was all what we call ladder pipe operations. I mean, I was in charge of one corner, and myself I had a Revere engine, Revere ladder, Burlington's tower, and a Malden engine, and we were on one corner of the building. So there was probably 8 or 9 ladder trucks around that building. But with the drones, you could see where those streams were going, and you could see, okay, you're aiming here, but there's a hot spot here. Okay, Revere, move your engine to the left, move your ladder to the left. And
Who's
you-
in charge of those?
The Department of Fire Services will send out 2 people. One will be the drone operator, licensed pilot.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
oh yeah, you have to be a
Okay.
licensed pilot to do it.
Okay.
And so you have a licensed pilot that operates the drone, and the other guy operates the camera. And they're there to support you.
Fascinating.
But isn't that
I-
amazing? The
I'm-
presentation was Wednesday morning, and
And Wednesday night we used
golly,
it.
how odd, how, I mean, unfortunately. But it also, it's state of the art. It's good to know
Oh.
it's available.
Awesome tool.
Right, exactly. And also, particularly for a larger building, like if you did have an apartment complex,
Right.
like
They
the
used
building
it-
19 and a half
They
or
used it
Lord
in Waltham
Barron.
at the large Department of Fire in Waltham, and they also
Okay.
used it in Weymouth.
Right,
And
also a
same
school
thing.
scenario, any of those.
They can fly up to 400 feet. If you can get above the fire, because I can't see 3 stories up.
Sure.
No, who
You
can?
know, I'm in charge, and I can't tell you what's on the roof.
Right, right. Even with binoculars, it's
But
not
with
helping all
the
that
drone
much.
sitting above it, I can tell you
Fabulous.
exactly what's
Okay,
on the roof.
Amazing. I
Yeah,
never,
the
I never,
technology is
I
amazing.
just-
never thought of it.
I just saw recently an advertisement. It was like a spoof thing, but someone was taking their drone and putting like ghoulish type like clothing over it, and like flying
Oh,
it
for
around their house for
Halloween.
Halloween to scare the kids. And I thought that was hysterically funny. But then I was like, oh wait,
Can you imagine some poor little kid getting
Oh, I
seeing it
well,
coming?
I'm just worried about grandma or grandpa's taking like little Johnny or Susie out trick or treating or
Yeah, and
whatever,
seeing one of those.
or Selma or something. Yeah, and and basically having a heart attack of their life because they.
So we
Some apparitions
we also use thermal imaging cameras. So every engine that we have has a thermal image. That's like standard equipment you carry in with you.
Yeah.
So the officer will grab that thermal imaging camera and go in.
Right.
So
Wow.
it's quite a tool.
Yeah. Progress. We've had Michael Kent on the show.
Yep.
We've had John Sanchez on the show. I'm trying to get Jim Doherty on the show. How do you Square, how are your relations, especially here in Burlington is what I'm talking about, with all of these department heads? Pretty good, or
Very good.
could be better?
No, very good.
Very good.
Yeah, I think, again, Burlington might be a little unique. We have department head meetings where we communicate together, but we also have emergency management team. So, like the blizzards or the severe thunderstorms or the hurricanes or stuff like that.
Okay.
There's a representative from the Board of Selectmen, Building Department, Police, COA, Board of Health.
This is a regular
Department
thing?
of Public
Not
Works,
a regular meeting, but when it's needed, these are
Okay.
the people's, and we have like an email group. I'm the emergency management director, so as I get stuff from MEMA, I give that information to the troops.
Tell the general public what MEMA is.
Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency.
Okay.
So,
For
again, yes,
Massachusetts disasters
yes,
are managed.
through them,
Okay.
Are you going to have some input to your replacement?
yes.
Bless you.
Yeah, we're working on that right
Will
now.
it be, I don't know if this is something you can share or not, interdepartmental or everywhere? Look outside, look inside, look.
I mean, ideally, I think we certainly have qualified individuals, and I think any department should look internally first or in conjunction with.
Makes sense,
Yeah,
I think.
I mean,
for-
we certainly have qualified people.
So what made you go, okay, so you've gone through the civil service ranks, so you were a sergeant?
No, I was a firefighter first.
Okay.
I got promoted to lieutenant in 2001.
Okay.
So, so that puts you. That's probably the best job, I swear.
Middle of the,
Well, because you're a manager, but you're kind of you're working foreman.
okay, all right.
So you're in charge. You might be in charge of one company, or you might
Okay.
be in charge of two companies.
Okay,
You're a boss,
okay.
but you still get your hands dirty.
Okay, so you understand the nuts and bolts of
Yeah.
it from a managerial and also from a, okay.
Yeah, and
All
then
right.
I was
Okay,
on
respect.
I was on the captain's list. I was number one on the captain's list, but the way things worked out, Chief Tebow retired. Lee was the assistant chief. He was moving over, so the opportunity came. So I missed captain and went right to assistant chief in 2004,
Okay, and then chief
in 2010.
okay.
We are, it's probably hard, we're down to 10 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how to express to guests how fast the time goes by.
It flies.
It does. It really does. 1 hour. It just really. And you've provided us with a lot of good inside information. Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't have any regrets.
None at all.
Again, this has been an amazing career.
Are you
again,
talking about Burlington? You're talking about your particular career, or are you
My
talking
career.
about the career in general?
Yes.
Okay.
All things. I don't think I could have worked for a better department. I love my job. I've had opportunities that normal people don't have. Way back in the day, I mean, I was Eddie McLean and myself were assigned to President Bush when President Bush came to Burlington. We were his ambulance. We were part of a presidential motorcade.
I
mean,
forgot
Oh,
about
that's
that. Yeah.
who does that?
Well, you wouldn't think you'd ever, like, I would never think a firefighter or a firefighter organization would be involved in
Yeah.
a presidential motorcade, and
Right.
yet
and yet,
you are. Okay,
you know,
fascinating.
I'm also a hazardous materials technician, and I've been one since 1990. So I work for the state as a hazardous materials technician. And
Which means you do what?
I do hazardous materials response, because the individual city and town, we aren't designed for that. So the other day, Woburn had a chemical spill. Woburn Fire goes, and okay, now we know what we got, and then they call in the state. It's a regional type response.
Okay.
So
And you assess it.
the local fire department would assess and call in.
Okay.
Or
You
to contain
confirm it then. Your particular job.
Right.
If you were called in.
But I wear two hats. I'm also
Okay.
respond for the state. So
Okay.
I went to like
you know what?
the Danvers explosion on
what?
Thanksgiving Day. The Danvers explosion.
Oh yeah, the Danvers explosion.
I went to
right?
that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So
Right.
I go to stuff like that.
I don't think you are really being square with us in terms of.
Pardon?
It's all lies.
No. This did not come
No,
off
let
camera
me
before we
finish.
started. Okay.
When you, Well, you didn't
Pat,
say
wrap
that
this up.
when I retire, I'm going to take it easy, but it's sort of what every retiree does. It's what I had hoped to be able to do. You're going to be busy.
I could be.
No, could be. I think you are going to be busy. You've got too much energy. You've got too much. You're still a young man. I mean, even the things that you talked about, whether it's being part of this particular group, I don't think you're going to turn it in. I don't know. I mean, there are advisory positions, there are all kinds of things.
There's opportunity.
There's teaching, there's becoming involved with the new EMTs, with the new potential fire people. They're always looking for people with expertise to advise, to teach, to whatnot. I suspect your phone's going to be ringing a lot more than you think it is. It may be as much as it is when you're on your regular job. When do you get time off?
Well,
Like you said the other night, you in Wakefield, you're there
right.
7 hours.
I mean, I don't really have. I don't have set hours. And in theory, I'm 8 to 4, but I'm in 7:15, and who knows when I get out. But I'm always on call, and I don't go to the typical. Again, we do 20 calls a day. They don't call me for every call.
Right.
They call me for the multiple on fire, or let me know that Burlington's going
Who
mutual aid.
calls you?
The dispatcher calls.
Okay.
Yeah. So they will call me on a working fire and notify me of working fire. I will respond, typically in Burlington. If my guys are going to mutual aid and they're going to a scene, I will go. I mean, it's typical with fire chiefs too.
So mutual aid would be that scenario in Wakefield?
Yeah,
That-
Wakefield.
Okay.
The next day we were in Woburn for that chemical spill. I mean,
Okay,
mutual
so-
aid is not just fires.
Okay.
So when you're home, how do they get in touch with you? If you decide to go
it's easy for
shopping.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay,
guess this
okay.
one.
Yeah.
So you're
Depends
out
on
there
the-
shopping, you decided that you were going to go up to New Hampshire to do some special shopping in one of those
He goes
malls and
apple
whatnot.
picking. There
Apple
he is.
picking, yes,
Tree.
exactly. This is the
phone
season.
rings.
And you get a call, and you've got to run back home and then run to the station.
Maybe. It depends. Again, it depends upon my
on the nature of the
availability.
fire. Well, I'm assuming it's
I
something
mean, I
that
still have a
is,
life.
yeah.
But you end up only getting half a haircut.
like the hazmat teams. I mean, we cover.
Kidding aside.
My District 2 hazmat team is 45 firefighters from different departments in the greater Boston area. Our responsibility area is from Beverly to Weymouth.
Wow.
This could go off
All the way to
now,
Weymouth.
and I could be on my
that's,
way to Weymouth.
Wow.
And he takes off the
That's a
microphone,
big
and Pat,
area.
you and I get to chat for
I know,
4 more
I know.
minutes.
So, yeah,
I'm old-fashioned. I can't imagine. I have to run to the phone. You're a very interesting character.
character. Okay.
Well, you're a very interesting fireman.
Okay.
Chief.
Why don't we, you had mentioned
Yeah,
before the camera started rolling about.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
That you've actually been a responder to matters outside the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yes.
I think you mentioned Katrina was one of them.
I did respond to Katrina
Okay.
at the time.
And why did you go there? Just on a lark? You said,
No,
hey!
no.
No.
Those things are done by request.
Okay.
So at least for the Katrina incident, the International Association of
I
Firefighters.
can't remember. Where was Katrina?
You had to ask me that. 2005.
Where?
I don't remember either.
No,
It was the Gulf Coast.
Okay,
Gulf Coast.
now I remember. Yep.
New Orleans.
So New Orleans.
I think
Right,
of New
right.
Orleans.
Which is what.
but-
So the International Association of Firefighters asked for 2,000 firefighters nationwide. Burlington sent 2, and I was one of them. And firefighter Paul Sullivan, who was retired, was the other one. So they gave us permission to go. So we went down. We were all sent to Atlanta, Georgia, and from there we were supposed to disperse to the Gulf Coast. We were there. They were setting us out in teams, and in the middle of setting up teams and sending us out, we were in Atlanta for like 4 or 5 days. And they said, okay, we need 200 firefighters to go to Austin, Texas. So 200 firefighters got in a plane and we went to Austin, Texas. Landed in Austin, Texas, and firefighter Sullivan and myself were told we were going to San Antonio to set up a field office. Thought we were going to end up in New Orleans, doing rescue work, but that's not what they needed.
Yeah.
We ended up assisting in a shelter,
Okay.
4,500 evacuees.
Oh, my God.
It was almost a city.
Wow.
Right,
It
so
was,
you-
it was crazy.
You were organizing a small city.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, post office, meals, stores,
Right.
It was
Activities.
yeah. It has to be done.
Right. You've got 4,500 people that need to
When
be
they-
calmed,
When there
along
is
with
a
fed, you know,
disaster,
sheltered.
life has been lost, firemen in particular. It
Difficult.
happens, not frequently, but it does
happens.
happen, yeah.
We average probably
Okay,
100.
there's the call, I mean, you see these on television,
Yep.
you know, where 1,000 firemen will show up to show their respects to
Oh, yeah.
a brother fireman who is, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
So the call comes out, and Burlington is going to send 3, and that's your decision, and we have to send 3 people, we have to send 2
Well,
people.
and again, depending upon what it is, I also responded to Ground Zero after 9/11. That was also by specialty. It was, you know, you weren't, they didn't need firefighters. New York City has 14,000 firefighters. They needed specialists. They needed urban search and rescue people. I actually went with a group of 8 firefighters from Massachusetts who were trained to be stress counselors.
Oh,
We went to Ground Zero and worked around the clock at Ground Zero dealing with our firefighters.
with
So-
other firefighters?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you say you do stress counseling, describe to the viewers precisely what that means.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're
As
not,
best you can.
we're no different than anybody else.
Right.
You know, we're no stronger or weaker than anybody else.
Right.
The things that we see in our occupation, be a police officer or firefighter, are not things that you normally see,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Difficult,
So,
very
and
difficult and harsh.
that was so far off the scale.
Yeah, nothing can train you for that.
No, that was,
No.
that was, that was.
We're getting down to 1 minute. I want to ask you, if I can, what are you going to do when you retire? The first week?
Not get up at 5 in the morning,
Not get up at 5 in the morning. You get up at 5 every morning?
every morning.
God bless you. So you're going to have late breakfast,
I'm gonna try.
and you're going to try to get used to the phone not ringing. Okay. And then do you have any dreams about traveling or going away? Do you have
maybe.
family somewhere? Or-
I have one son. He graduated college last year, so he's working in Boston.
okay.
So I,
Oh, a trip to Boston is nothing.
no,
I'm
I
talking
did-
about.
I did see him in his last semester when he was over in Berlin, Germany. That was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, nice, good.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to take a little bit of time off. I've actually already had discussions with some people about some opportunities. So, you know, but I would like to take a little bit of time off and just, it's been a long,
What's your wife's name?
I'm actually divorced.
Oh, okay, okay. So you don't have to be concerned with that. You have to be concerned with what you want to
Well, that's
do.
family.
Okay, I didn't know that. We've got 25 seconds left. I want to say thank you very much. You've been very, very informative.
having
What can I say? I hope you'll come back. Anything
Yes.
you want to add
No.
to it?
No, not at this time.
A great big thank you. And to all of you out there in these last 6 seconds, please stay tuned. In the future, we've got some terrific people who are going to be coming on, people that are great like this gentleman. Please join us when you can. Thank you very, very much, and
Good night.
bonsoir, bonne nuit.
Bonsoir. Bonne nuit.